It is January 27th, 2024. We're going to talk about spiritual protection in the day and age of the new dark ages. Okay, so I've been discussing this for over 15 years. And I think that this is a subject that a human being should never stop discussing. Someone that aspires to be a servant of the Creator, to defend the weak, to expose the darkness, the workings of Shaitan or the devil of this world. It is an ongoing process to provide commentary on how it's manifesting in our world and how even a lot of spiritual people and religious people end up still manipulated by these jinn archon forces. I use all these words interchangeably, oftentimes by not being in control of their own thoughts, by still allowing themselves to be manipulated by other entities. Okay, right now there's speculation about where technology is going, concern about a chip. But did you know that in the modern day and age, with the spiritual warfare going on, with the reality that many human beings may in fact have a jinn spirit attached to them or an entity, that when people are living unspiritual lives, and there's a number of ways we can describe that, and are going against God's law, and there's a number of ways that we can describe that that's consistent with the various religions, that they can lower, their soul voltage can be lowered, their spiritual essence, their spark, if you will. And then from there, the door is open. Some of the exorcists in the world of Catholicism and the books that I've read refer to this as demonic oppression, again, also known as the jinn. Different names, different words for different religions. And so when there's a certain sin, or haram, the Muslims would say, that is being committed, a door is open, or God allows, or the hand of protection is removed, and then that person, and I might even say city, country, region, suffers from that attack from Shaitan that comes upon it. So the planet itself is coming upon the Shaitan attack. And I would say, keep in mind, we may have been born here for a reason to learn some things. There's a lot of people in the research community, a lot of them that are real angry at the idea of us being, humanity being tested. They don't like the idea. I've made videos about this, speaking. I wasn't raised religiously around mosques, around this or that. My mom was a little new agey, but I really didn't learn, in my opinion, a great deal of spiritual things from her. A lot of things I've learned from the streets, from life, from experience, from research, and from observing humanity and seeing the level of hate. By understanding that there's a devil, you can come to know that there is God. By realizing, come to understand that there are brilliant, talented souls and prophets that are alive right now, walking the earth in a time of great darkness. So while they can manipulate our technologies and manipulate the minds of those in power, they cannot manipulate all the humans on the ground. So they may pull a few buttons and create some world events, but understand this is about a harvest of souls. There's a much greater reality beyond this limited reality in which we only live so long and only learn so much and only get so much done. I don't think that is an accident. That we don't live as long as we need to actually get certain things done. While the entities that are actually manipulating things on this earth that are beyond human form, they have entities that are beyond 80 years, 90 years, 100 years. So in the modern high-tech reality, which is unlike the reality of our ancestors, modern mankind needs to learn about the influence of the internet. Needs to learn some basic grounding techniques. We'll talk about just some of those techniques in brief. You really need to do your own research on this, but I'll pause just for a few moments. I wouldn't necessarily call it a guided meditation, but I will attempt to be somewhat instructional. And in doing so, and in trying to slow down a few times and discuss this, multitasking. This is good for my own growth, to continue as a teacher and to teach freely without attaching my ego to this. So I'm just going to mention briefly, when you're on the internet and you're putting yourself out there, whether or not you believe in psychic potential doesn't matter. There's still a magnetic link that's linked between you and other people. So I've had to become stronger in recent years as there's more unstable people that are watching channels like this. There are some people that could use some help that believe that they are targeted individuals because they're under spiritual attack. But you can't get too close to them. You can't have a targeted individual conference. You can't date them. And you can't convince someone that thinks that they're a targeted individual that in fact it's archonic, jinn, demonic, right? Because those entities that are already infecting them, that have already injected them with thoughts, with emotions, with perceptions, with attitudes, with belief systems, they will turn on a dime on that person trying to help them. How do I know this? I've experienced this over and over and over again. And I want, frankly, the cycle of abuse to stop. And yes, I pray in the name of Jesus Christ for there to be an intervention in some of the interferences that I've faced. And I know what it's like to go silent for a number of years and see how things work out, see how it affects my mental health, my spiritual health, my sense of connection with God. Not so good. So I came back to doing what I believe that I was born to do. So often people spend too much time online and they end up manipulated by entities that I suspect can come at them through the screens, whether it be a laptop screen, a cell phone. That's just a camera, just using it as a prop. Technologies certainly that are wireless. 5G. So just the grid itself. I got videos of me speculating in the city of my birth 10 years ago when it was raining that these entities are using the power grid as a conduit, and especially when there's a geomagnetic storm. So there's dreams that I've had where I've psychically accurately picked up on people commenting on videos about me or talking about me on Facebook. And then I got on Facebook in one of my groups and there was speculation about if I died because I got offline. Couldn't handle the psychic interference or, the sense of people thinking about me. And when you talk about being gifted and have an ability, some people are so psychopathic. They may not know what they're doing, but the entities that manipulate them, they will say hateful things. I made another video on this channel, why haters do what they do. I'll just share the cliff notes to manipulate that true speaker, to engage in spiritual warfare, to cause them to doubt themselves, to shut them down, to say certain things that can get inside their psyche and ultimately affect their light. Because we emit light through these screens. In the same way that entities can come through these screens, powerful beings of light and speakers and messengers of God, or those that aspire to be an asset of the Creator. Their energy and light too can come through the screen and enlighten people. Years ago, when hosting an Access TV show that would at times play on Comcast cable at all hours of the night, say 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, it would play as filler. Then it would play my show covering conspiracy theories and real news without the fake news, the real corruption without the racism and the left-right paradigm. And there I am ranting like Howard Bill from the 1977 movie Network. Wake up! Demanding that the people wake up. And surely somebody watching that night woke up. I literally woke someone up. Next day, I'm at a river, about 45 minutes outside of town. I bump into this guy who I literally wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Those things aren't coincidences. So we live in a world of angels and demons. And as we go deeper into the new dark ages, we need to learn how to shield. So I'm going to work now on discussing these things with discussing meditation. And I naturally talk fast. I'm listening to some Tangerine Dream at the moment. Music helps. Okay, so I recommend listening to good music just to get yourself into a positive state of mind. Using 2024 as a year as a stepping stone to other years. I want to see beyond 2025 a year in which we could see massive cataclysms, both natural but specific geopolitical and things coming with China. And I'm not alone in that. The head of the Air Force is with me. Don't forget that. And I was on the case in 2007 talking about 2025 as a year of great importance. Look at the other video of my other predictions and warnings. So we're discussing now spiritual protection. We'll be discussing meditation in a moment, maybe discussing a few martial arts movements. Yes, we will. Yes, we will. All with the intention of helping you raise your soul voltage. So combine the intention of raising your soul voltage and strengthening the field around your body with making an honest attempt before God to serve God and become a more moral person, to rise above the programming, even if you have not identified yet the programming that you need to rise above. You must ask honestly to be shown the answers to the questions that you have. And if you ask honestly for the answers to come to you when you're ready to, remove whatever is preventing you from seeing the truth, then you will see the truth. You must prevent the barriers. You must lift the veil where you have allowed the veil to exist. It isn't necessarily about some magic trick or some solar flash that wakes us up like some sort of act of magic. No, you are the one that needs to pull back those curtains. Okay. I want to read a few pages from this here and there, from this book, A Timeless Reality, which I paid a pretty penny for. But he has other books on meditation, right? So there's different places where you want to start. But there's different things that you want to explore. And throughout my life, I'll be 44 in February. My dad said, on Christmas, a couple of years ago, a year ago, you're at a certain age, you need to know what you're going to do with your life or be what, it just brought me also back to where I need to be, which is speaking my truth, because I only have so many years left and I'm invested peacefully, that is, in the hereafter and serving God. And so I'm highly invested in putting a lot of importance in these videos, having worked hard for many years, speaking of different things, working to strategize moving forward in overcoming the shadow banning, developing new strategies of sharing my work and ideas. So I'd like to write some books and make some documentary films. But it is a spiritual practice. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. Okay. So. Basically, the section that I open up randomly is how we're controlled by fear. Fear is natural, though, because we have a natural alert system within us when there's danger. But ultimately, because we're locked in this physical matrix reality, we're manipulated by Shaitan's whisperings, the evilest world, to think that this is the world that matters, that this is paradise, or where we need to invest all of our time and energy, rather than serving God. So a lot of people end up thinking they're serving God by going through the rituals of the religion to impress their peers, their spouses, their children, their parents, their family members, but they may actually be serving Shaitan. So there's a lot of people in the Christian religion, Muslim religion, Jewish religion, and New Age that are actually in service to self. And they're actually afraid of Shaitan. They're afraid of speaking up against the evils taking place. And obviously millions dead, uncounted Afghan victims of war. I'd say that's a great evil and genocide. People say that actually the amount of Jews that were killed in Nazi Germany, that's not as, people speculate on the actual number. I don't necessarily do that. But what is an actual issue with Afghanistan, at the very least, is that the number killed is greater than the number counted. I say that's wrong, that there is something inherently psychopathic, evil, psychotic, dangerous, genocidal, and self-destructive about a generation that collectively has an attitude that those people aren't really human, those people are subhuman, okay? So if people don't identify that that is evil and or human trafficking and the reality that some women are in, and I'm all about sexual freedom, but what is out there in what's called adult content is above and beyond sexuality. I will not describe it to you in this podcast, but It's beyond what most people would be prepared for or to hear. And even people that have spoken out against that industry don't go as far as they should. But what I will say now, being that we are talking about the supernatural, you would think that people would wake up, that there's an influence over humanity if there's an abundance of what is called alien porn. That is the animated depiction of humanoids, i.e. human beings, having sex with Nephilim, fallen angels, jinn, monsters, giants, fairies, reptilians, octopuses, orcs, on and on and on. Who thinks up this shit? Then I come across articles saying a bunch of women are watching this stuff and a bunch of other rotten stuff. But it's all normal, including that snuff stuff. Then I come across people that lean to the right, that like people like Trump and Musk probably, that even they themselves are going, hey, wait a minute. We're just trying to have a good old time here on Twitter. We don't need to be seeing these snuff videos. See, they don't have a deeper understanding of why they're seeing those snuff videos. No, Elon Musk is an agent of the demiurge Satan, Lucifer, Shaitan. So he is poisoning people's minds. As David Icke said many, many times, a person cannot unhear something. In this case, a person cannot unsee something. And so in that case, people are on Twitter and they're seeing these violent things and they're becoming traumatized. As I said in an earlier video, sometimes people become supremacists, black, white, also radicalized in Islam, in places that they're bombing back to the Stone Age, and they're being radicalized by design. Those people being duped into violent response. Again, back to Nazism and aspects of black supremacy. Some people don't even notice that that exists, but it does exist. It comes about from the trauma that's induced into them. So a lot of people, it's not about their race, a lot of people, regardless of race, because of the programming and biology, the entities of the unseen realms, not the physical, they are able to manipulate circumstances in certain environments where a certain percentage of those humans will become possessed because their soul voltage is not developed enough, their shield is not developed enough to protect themselves from being taken over. By the way, time check, 8 o'clock at night, January 27th, coming after a full moon, 2024. A lot of energy is in me on this full moon. Okay, I'm at a level of speaking now and awareness spiritually that's above and beyond the level of my audience. So unlike other men and women out there on planet Earth today in 2024 that are able to speak freely to their audience members of thousands and thousands and thousands, just sharing this with you now. I'm sharing this with a limited audience only, which I'm not specifying in this video at this time because I want to help those people. I don't want to get lots of hits and clicks. So at the moment, I'm only sharing this in a few places for a few people, and I will retrieve it later. In the last few months and in the last year, I have shared publicly on my Substack page many podcasts that I recorded earlier. I have podcasts from 2020 and 2021 that at that time I felt society was too possessed by these evil forces to face the truth, that it wasn't really a truly woke movement on the left, and it really wasn't a true freedom-based movement on the patriot right, that it was both controlled by a sense of evil at the top that the humans on the ground are too blind to understand. Okay, and a lot of people just dislike the truth, like they dislike a video in which a lot of work and attention and heart and blood and sweat, maybe not literally, but a lot of prana and energy and attention goes into some of these videos that I made for years. Why am I doing this? Why have I invested my time in this? Right? I'm invested in evolving beyond this world. People want to debate and argue about reincarnation, and that's all fine and dandy. But I'm not just going to automatically take somebody's word for it, listen to me carefully, when they say there is no such thing as reincarnation and we live only once. Okay, surely there's a reason why some of us have an above average understanding of how certain things manifest on the earth and a certain understanding of cause and effect. So an understanding of how human beings are affected by the sun and the solar cycles has been compared to by Edward Dewey, an author, a researcher in the 1950s, as the sixth sense. Can you hear me now? Rather, correction, the seventh sense. The seventh sense. Okay, so the sixth sense being third eye, psychicness, intuition on a level, seventh sense being our ability to detect magnetic field changes. Okay, so in 2019, MIT, okay, a well-known, accredited American university and institution that's respected around the world, documented that human beings do detect magnetic field changes in a controlled atmosphere, okay? But that's basically what's happening when the sun spits out these CMEs, okay? It affects the humans on the ground in ways that is beyond scientific measure. Okay, but they have admitted that there are more suicides. There are more psychiatric admissions. So what I'm saying to you is, from this information, even though some people have a spiritual experience, others, they end up seemingly possessed or taken over by evil, especially around eclipses. Okay, so we as humans, and I suspect that genetics plays a role, okay, the nature of the soul in that human, whether they're a good soul or a demon soul, whether they come from the angel realms or the demon realms, because I suspect that planet Earth is a melting pot of souls from these different realms. Okay, I'm just speculating and sharing with you what I think is going on. There's actually a lot of humans here on the Earth that are not actual angel souls. Okay, they're loyal to Lord Lucifer. They're loyal to the demiurge. They're loyal to Shaitan. And they may exist in certain religions. They may do the prayers. They may pray 5 times a day. They may do this. They may do the beards. They may, the beads, the rosary. They may eat the bread and drink of the wine and act like they're cannibalizing Christ and do the ritual and all this nonsense. But they may not be really serving God. Just like you have a lot of people now acting like they think they're going to go to Valhalla while glamorizing the murder of innocent men, women, and children in overseas countries. They act like Father Odin is going to send them to heaven, more like they are on a highway to hell. Let me make this point clear as well. Okay. The torment of the hell awaiting those that have destroyed the children of God is greater than the hell that any New World Order or shadow government could do to people if you were to do the right thing. Okay, that's Shaitan right there. That's the evil of this world. That's the demons telling you, don't stand against the evil of this world or Shaitan will come for you. What you gonna do when the New World Order come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? Hulk Hogan, the 1980s, what you gonna do? That fear that's programmed into us. When Trump was coming up in 2015, I was also discussing on my main channel that I believe that there was an archonic interference that was programming people, spiritually, literally infiltrating their minds to see him as the return of Christ. Fast forward to 2021, 2022, there's been a lot more mainstream, right? Even though I've been judged for being seen as a conspiracy theorist, here is the mainstream media trying along to save the day and do the reports on the QAnon and the fake news. But what I would say is that is conspiracy theory right there, analyzing how they infiltrated counterculture on the internet and the powers that be through the intelligence agencies and the psyops. A lot of people believe this. Not random, not just some punks in a garage, but a focused government operation to send the truthers into a dark direction, and a lot of spiritual people. You know, with the QAnon thing, there are people that believe in the ascension, the 5D, and the Great Awakening. So they literally create a honey trap for not only the patriots, but the people that want to be spiritual. They got trapped in the New Age, deception, so they get turned on by the direction of James Gillen, Ramtha. And even if you don't even know those names yourself, I'm telling you, if there are like figures out there that are really popular that are all saying the same shit, and I've said in other videos, all these folks have like this right-wing racist ideology now. They don't have this love and light. And I call it the network, back to the paranormal. It's like there's a network, top of the pyramid, that is channeling through and streaming through these media figures, and they all say the same shit. I told you about the war on Islam being coordinated at the same time in multiple governments, and all these videos coming out trying to provoke the Muslims of the world, showing them the Hindu radicals beating Muslims, trying to light their balls on fire in some videos, beating them up for talking to Hindu women. Then you look at the technology that the West gave China, IBM, Intel, Microsoft, Communist Chinese Party, okay, harassing, tracking, kidnapping, raping Uyghur Muslims in China, their movements limited, being forced to carry passports in order to travel after 2014. 2014, the year A few years before Trump was elected, boom, bomb goes off of fake news on the internet targeting all migrants as ISIS. Major darkness. That shit didn't even happen after 9/11. What I'm telling you is, while we keep hearing about this ascension and these new age lies and all this, it's actually a time of great deceit. While I'm not Muslim and I'm not Christian, I'm not this, I believe in the power of discernment and the power of prophecy and looking at different spiritual texts. I got the Bible over here somewhere. This is a book on the sun, the moon, the earth. I believe that we are the ones that we have been waiting for, and some of us are activating consciously while the dark ones are bringing us dark energy. So we need to, in these periods of high energy, and right now full moon, document how we're feeling and how we're seeing this play out. These forces, I've said this over and over, they do manipulate the algorithm. Okay. So I don't know how long this has been going on, but on that level, when it comes to like searching things on the internet and search engine results, I've had strange things happen on the computer that I'm not going to get into. I'm letting you know I've had strange things happen. I've looked up strange things, or I've looked up things on the internet, and it's shown different search results. Is that a human on the other end? Or is that some sort of a spirit within technology that is manipulating the search results? And see, at that level, like at what point are we going to be directly communicating with evil spirits through technology, through text messages? Okay. Christian pastors have talked about this. Here we have a Muslim, a Sufi Muslim on one level that's talking about this. Perhaps there were Jewish mystics that talk about this. Again, the issue with a lot of New Agers is the failure of them to call out the evil that does exist in this world and the false promises that so many of them have made about this world being saved by either the Pleiadians or the Galactic Federation of Light. While Archangel Michael may be a true angel of God to call out to, I made a video years ago that I think that a lot of people out there in this culture in which blonde hair and blue eyes is worshipped, I think a little bit too much. These entities oftentimes can come through to the women in the Western culture in a form that they perceive to be beautiful, like a Fabio type appearance with long flowing blonde hair. And these are perceived to be more advanced beings by their perceived beauty and really intense, striking blonde hair, known as the Pleiadians, the Galactic Federation of Light, sometimes Ashtar Command and or other names, right? So as people look to get more spiritual in these times and they get online, the algorithm, again, which I suspect is manipulated by these beings, and as I said earlier, I do believe there may be some mind reading going on also. So the AI entity manipulating what we see online, what comes up, but also for some souls that may have a breach of their field, there may be some mind reading going on already, even if the technology hasn't been already officially rolled out. You can find an article in 2010 about a technology they rolled out in London, England, where people walking by a kiosk in downtown would hear a commercial in their mind. Do you understand what I'm saying? They would hear a commercial in their mind walking down the street. What the hell? Just not normal. Just not normal to have that type of stuff going on. Still processing another video as I'm recording this. So we'll just keep going. Okay. There's lots of things that I'm going to get into, but I'm going to get into it in stages. Okay. People need to learn about how they have an aura, how to meditate, okay, how this reality is taking place, this mind hijack. A lot of people out there think they're being gang stalked and this, that, and the other, and they cannot conceive of the network. going back to that, a network of entities that track certain humans. Unfortunately, a lot of humans have been led to believe that they are ascending and that they are the chosen ones. If you look up targeted individuals on YouTube, again, the entities manipulate what you get on the internet. And so a lot of people will end up seeing chosen ones recommended with targeted individuals. So then a sense of narcissism is promoted on these videos where people think that they have some sort of magic to them. They may have a soul, that may be it, but there may not be something specific. They may not be teachers themselves. They may not be investigators themselves. They may not be doing anything themselves to change the world. So it's hard to see why some people, in my opinion, to be honest with you, are chosen ones if they're just promoting negativity, being another mindless consumer. So I think in reality, a lot of people are suffering from spiritual attack, thinking they're being, quote, hashtag gang stalk, targeted individuals, when in reality, right, we have this hardware in our body, this physical biology that's been tampered with over time, that these entities have some sort of like backlog file, instruction manual of. I've said for years also, so when it comes to the solar flares, these entities that feed on humanity, jinn, archons, demons, whatever you want to call them, it's like Predator looking at Schwarzenegger in that 1980s movie. It sees Arnold's heat signature. And in order for Arnold to hide, he puts mud all over his body so he can hide from the Predator and then strike back. So the point here is that a lot of humans, when the sun is more active, going back to that, I believe, and I sense intuitively, it's like I have this knowledge within me about the sun and how we're affected by it. A lot of these humanoid zombies don't know shit about the knowledge of the sun, and they don't want to know anything about the sun, but it lights us up, and those entities see us as humanity. We are their food. As the blind black man in the movie They Live screams on the corner, they are our owners, perched upon our shoulders, feeding upon us, our masters. Anyway, we need to overthrow those masters. And a lot of people won't come to terms with the fact that some of the thoughts inside their head are not their own. A lot of people like to mock this as mental illness. Are they going around and calling all the mosques? Well, some are. But all the Christians and all the Jews and all the New Agers and all them that talk about all this crazy, I'll tell you what's crazy. People that have a blind view of the idea of aliens saving us. Going back to something before I forget. Back to these entities that may be manipulating the algorithm. There are certain humans out there, James Gillen, Ramtha, that claim to be channeling enlightened spirits, and they promote Putin. They promote Trump. They demonize migrants. They're basically reflecting the archonic demiurge consciousness, you dig? And if you don't know if that's a demiurge consciousness, you're not even at a precursory level to be able to understand the words that are coming out of my mouth. So you just might as well hit the dislike button now, hit the back button, and get lost. Because this channel is not for you if you don't realize that murder and hating people is from the dark realms. If you don't understand that that is wrong, I can't help you understand the whole spectrum of other understandings that I have. But I hope that you come to a level of understanding and that you come to a level that is capable of understanding and willing to open up your heart to the understanding. Because for those that have the eyes to see, the ears to hear, and the heart, because in the Sufi tradition, it is about the heart. So here's my point. It's like the entities that manipulate what you see on the web sometimes. They hide criticism of some of these people. They're totally shady. Okay, I could tell you things, but I won't, about James and others. I'm going to play fair. Okay, but I know the real James. And I've seen the crap that he's put out there. Far-right crap on his Facebook page. And this is a guy that has portrayed himself to be a guru, a spiritual being, a man that talks to the ascended masters. What ascended masters would be okay with people being burned and murdered and people being accused of the 9/11 event when they're innocent of that? Or even for those that believe in that, for innocent people that didn't do anything to us on 9/11, for them to be judged also as terrorists. It's just evil. And there's way too many people engaged in evil thinking. So why add on to it? Why go around on their Facebook page adding gasoline to already a negative situation where innocent men, women, and children have been burned alive through drone strikes over their funerals and over their weddings. So these people online want to make the Afghan refugees fleeing the Taliban, which Biden allowed to come back into power, well, blaming the Afghan people. So they treat every Afghan like a terrorist while exaggerating, I believe, the amount or number of Afghan refugees coming across the border. I was watching another commentator online who was discussing the unseen forces, yada, yada, yada. And then he's discussing what he perceives to be the most subhuman beings out there, the Afghan refugees, and yet he's acting like he's an exposed the archons. Let me give you another example, John Lash. John Lash, he's not really around right now, but he was putting out the white genocide mythos. When people are programmed by thinking that there is a conspiracy to eradicate white people, they in their mind are then justified to allow the death of other people, so they then commit a preemptive genocide on others so they themselves don't get taken out. And that's what the mind control is doing worldwide. So it can weaponize immigration, bring in some terrorists, the demons can possess some people to go on some knife attack assaults, and a few events can then be used politically, plus a few false flags sprinkled in. Then you have a bunch of demon-possessed people calling for the deportation, and because of the official story of October 7th, 2023, with the allegations of Hamas raping Israeli women, IDF soldiers, not that that makes it right, but IDF soldiers nonetheless. Then you have people saying that it's okay to rape Palestinian women. These tweets I've screenshotted and captured. And really, my big mistake, my big regret is not screen capturing the types of demonic shit people said to me in 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020, and videos that were made in which the content creators seem to be possessed and hearing the voice of Shaitan themselves, literally speaking directly to them and in real time as they record themselves saying what the demons were saying about me. And a dude's goal and dream in a video to get me off of YouTube, literally speaking in real time what the demons were saying to him. The greatest mistake I made was not documenting that occurrence, because that was a paranormal experience. And not every human can testify and say that they have experienced that nonsense. And then noticing a number of different individuals becoming possessed. So, before the coronavirus event, there was already a number of possessions. I don't know what the connection is necessarily, other than to say that astrologically and with the shift of the solar cycles, there has been a great evil released upon the world. And so at the very least, the elite of the establishment has manufactured this health crisis at a certain time, a point in time, in which there's an above average amount of people killing others, killing themselves, doing bad drugs, and becoming possessed. Obviously, drugs have gotten worse. Who the hell was doing Traz and fentanyl back in 1970? Hell, the marijuana they were smoking back then was obviously a much lighter version of the marijuana that people are smoking today. So, McFly, awaken. You want to mix your prayer with your meditation. You want to reprogram your mind with positive affirmations. Grab a journal, write in your journal. Engage in what is called automatic writing, but for those of you that are concerned about some of these spirits, ask God and your angels for help. Some speculate some of our guides are mischievous, though, our spirit guides. Some of our spirit guides may be self-interested. So just keep this in mind when the discussion of spirits come up. So, as I said before, Archangel Michael may come in the form, or there may be archons or demon jinn come in the form of a beautiful form, that which some think is Archangel Michael or some other spirit, and it can be a de facto. There could even be a de facto Jesus that is a thought form Jesus that may even be able to perform miracles just because some sort of a spirit can perform miracles or perform that which is perceived to be an act of God. doesn't necessarily mean that it is God or it came from God. Okay? So simple humans don't understand that in this world of various souls, of demons and angels in human form, that the mere existence of phenomena is not the existence or proof of the divine. For Satan has many ways of deceiving mankind in this realm. Okay? Qigong, of course, bringing in the energy. For me, martial arts isn't about violence. It's about an energy. Some people don't know this. Maybe even some family members about me, about how I view this as a spiritual exercise that probably more ancestors than you're aware of engaged in. Certain exercises like circular motion, where I'm just doing things in a certain direction to deflect, moving the energy, working on the chi between the hands. My intention in this video was just to briefly just discuss meditations, which I'm sure you're already aware of and can listen to a number of meditations and music, whatever works for you. Okay, a lot of people like to listen to 528 hertz music. For some, it's 432. For me, it's certain types of synthwave and Tangerine Dream. I'm actually listening to Tangerine Dream now as I record. Okay. It's my MP3 player. I'm not a big fan of the iPods. Okay, I listen to a lot of this stuff early in the morning. So going between my strikes and my circular motion. Okay, and my kicks and some footwork. Doing some deep breathing. So in between the intensity of the hard strikes and the circular motion, going back into some Qigong and then doing some Qi ball exercises, going back into a prayer position, pausing for a few moments, visualizing a stronger field around my body, taking that energy that's been generated through the martial arts practice. It's also a yoga pose where one hand is open, one hand is closed, and the idea is to open up the heart. So that is at the heart of Sufism. And a lot of people that deal with in the West, certain forms of meditation, a lot of them are in the head. And a lot of them aren't well. So like I said, because a lot of them are in the head, and because Shaitan can affect the head in ways that the human doesn't know they can be affected because they're an ego and they think they know it all and they think there's something big and bad, they really are lacking in the heart. And again, this is displayed and quantified in their lack of compassion for totally innocent people. People that are acting spiritual and acting like they have gifts and acting like they have talents. I'm going to tell you a story in a minute. We'll start talking about meditation. A woman sent me some essential oils. She saw my post on Facebook, and she talked about how these essential oils can help with spiritual evolution during times like this after we came out of the eclipse. But it's interesting how many people talk about spiritual evolution and love and light and essential oils and all that, ascension. They don't talk about the millions of people that have died. They have found a way to see themselves as spiritual while not caring about other human beings. You can't actually see other people that are suffering and being murdered and be informed of it and not speak about it and actually seeing them as human like you. There would have to be literally in their minds a belief system that they're not as human, that maybe they did something bad. And so with the 9/11 event, it's actually been used to attack and destroy a great deal of life. The whole thing was created by Satan, and the response to 9/11 and the military response and what they've done to Afghanistan and their economy and their people has all been evil. And then they gave Afghanistan back to the Taliban. Okay, in another video, we'll talk even more about how a lot of people that have mental health disturbances are really dealing with spiritual attacks. So the answer is spirituality, prayer, meditation, nutrition, exercise, the chi exercises, the things that I described, getting out in nature. And I describe these things, but as I describe these things, people also want to use my other awarenesses about future events against me. Okay, my intuition. So I'm spiritual, I discuss these things, but I also discuss future events. Then people say, wow, you're crazy, go touch grass. They're at a level where they think they're spiritual, where they can talk about touch grass meditation, get in lotus position, do yoga, but don't talk about the real world and people suffering. I talk about meditation, spirituality, serving God, but also real events and the corruption and all the politicians and the unconsciousness in all the races. I go where few humans do. There are certain topics regarding the sun and other things that I'm the only one on Earth on a planet of billions, 8 billion in fact. Okay, this is not bullshit. In the English-speaking world, I am one of the few that discusses certain things, scenarios, and speculations regarding the sun. And I have seen so much confirmation in my own life in recent years that when the sun is more active, events manifest. People end up dead. There is much more disturbance in the news. Even when there was an eclipse and I returned to the internet after 3 years of taking a break from the internet, on the very day in which I'm having a spiritual experience, and my dad's brother, that would be my uncle, is watching my live stream on Facebook several months ago and cheering me on. Just outside my window, there's the cops, not one, not two, not three, not four, but 5 cop cars chasing some guy or some car right up by where I am, right where I'm doing my show. And I go outside after I hit pause to go, what the hell? And they're just there for a half hour looking for some guy. So yeah, I was correct. It's like that seventh sense. Again, detecting that magnetism in that study at MIT, where they proved that human beings can detect changes in the magnetic field. Okay, so there are changes that happen to us when we go into solar maximum and when there's an eclipse. As we move further into April 2024, you'll see more crime, you'll see more acts of war, things will get more intense in Gaza unless their plan is just to shut it down and move the focus to something else. Things are heating up on the Texas border. There are people that calling themselves the Army of God. That's a vigilante group organized by Alex Jones and others going down to the border. I predicted Mr. Jones would be a part of some border deception years ago. So many things that I predicted are coming to fruition. See the other videos on this channel to understand what I'm saying, just to get a glimpse of those predictions and take a look at our world right now. Right, but I've been feeling these things for years. I've had visions of a red sky as a child, of machines reading human brains. I've been concerned about internment for immigrants and people labeled Muslims, or terrorists rather, now that many Muslims are being labeled as such, even though they're innocent. This is an attack on God's people. Just as the Christians talk about Christian persecution and an attack on Christians. Same thing with the Jews. So right now, with the internet and the algorithm, there are so many different racial programs. I've discussed, I both also see white supremacy and black supremacy radicalizing people online. I do not see other forms of supremacy on the internet, but I see those two programs kind of artificially boosted. It's not an accident. It creates animosity. It's not spiritual. And it leaves out other brown ethnic groups that are demographics in America. It keeps them in this other category. Okay, so there's something clearly demonic about the woke movement that acts like it cares about people of color. Again, this term people of color or black and brown, while ignoring other ethnic groups. And then in some cases, some people, unfortunately, acting like all white people are racist because of some Nazis and the KKK in the history of slavery. And then they themselves become overtaken by the spirit of evil by hating white people getting attacked in the subways. These people that are attacking white people, even though white supremacy does exist and is evil itself, these attacks on innocent white people, whether male, female, old, young, rich, poor, they are satanic. Over 10 years ago, I talked about the knockout games on white women from black men and others was a satanic attack, was part of the programming. Was this evil. And while I've been attacked by blacks and I've discussed these attacks by blacks on white people, I've been attacked and stalked by white supremacists that have berated me and acting like I was anti-white, or telling aspects of my story and things that I have faced in my life because of things that I cannot control, which is my name, my ancestry, and my unique outside the box ideas on how things are. right? There are forces of evil that I believe have penetrated the minds and the decision-making of some, not all, but some of the people that have consumed my content. So for a number of years, it became uncomfortable because, again, my psychic awareness became more aware than what it was. And by being online all the time and by being in a location in which people had access to where I was living, to see where I was sleeping every day online, and having some sensitive friends online that had an ability, again, a psychic ability, which some people have not contended with that we have. And so because of that, they're manipulated by Shaitan's whisperings. Instead of accessing their deeper knowledge and connecting with God, they are oftentimes manipulated. And so I found myself dealing with a bunch of psychic noise. And by sharing deep personal trauma with my audience, by not having family in my life, unfortunately, my father busy working, his family in other places busy working, I really shared a lot of personal details with total effing strangers on the internet, even though there were some great folks on the internet listening to my videos, cheering me on, saying my emails. There was also a sense that I'm not only sharing this in some cases with some human beings who don't like me, who don't like my light, who don't think that these ideas should be shared, who are themselves in love with the dislike button, as if the dislike button itself is going to harm me or stop me. You know, it was very troubling to sense that I'm also upsetting demonic spirits that are either watching me embedded within the technology or, as I sensed for years, literally attached to the human beings that are watching me. As far back as 2006, when I was uploading to Google Video, before YouTube, and I uploaded my full shows, and I was waking people up to the i.e. Illuminati New World Order in those early days after 9/11, in which there was a lot more people waking up that were not radicalized yet, because the algorithms were not psychotic yet. Okay, I know exactly why people have gone off the deep end. Okay, and a lot of them themselves that have gone off the deep end, they're not being accountable for it. They won't admit that the algorithms promoted a lot of fake news that created a sense that they were being invaded all the time. And the powers that be that control immigration, they can manufacture situations, including false flags, blamed on Muslims, immigrants, or those that they call terrorists, in order to keep up the hate. It's just like that song, "The Heat Is On." They flip the switch and the hate is on. The hate machine is on. It's like that scene from the Chappelle Show, the players ball, the haters players ball, where they're all about hate. And they flip a switch. The switch, I call it, the switch programming. And it's about hate of a certain people, even if they're not Muslim. And then people want to say, oh, no. Muslims are barbaric. They force their females to have a certain form of castration. They believe in violent jihad and Sharia law, which not all Muslims do. They are fucking lying out of their ass. And they are acting as if they are telling the truth. They are lying. Some of them know that they are lying. Some of them don't know that they are lying, and they're so under mind control from these demonic entities that they will not allow anyone to speak to them that will tell them the truth. So the computers and the controllers of the algorithms, these evil spirits, they are working overtime to shadow ban any true criticism of racism or connecting the dots between hatred and these evil spirits, so they can keep people in a trance. So if they can't kill certain people, they will try to shadow ban certain people and affect certain people and certain true speakers' lives to the point to where they silence themselves or off themselves. Okay, I will not let that happen to me. But I did, for a time, allow these evil forces to silence me. But really, I needed a break also. By being online all the time, which is not something that our ancestors did, get online all the time and to stream and put your image out there, which the Native Americans warned about. They warned about putting your image out there, but I just jumped into the internet, my generation, this generation, with both feet. But I can feel it. What are going to be the long-term effects of this? All these video uploads as we pass on into the other side, I'm not sure, but I do believe this. Even if AI is run by an entity, we were gifted by God, by the Creator, whether you call it this, that, and the other. We were given this technology, as this Sufi talks about. We are to use this technology and these devices to serve the Creator, that which they call Allah, others may call something else. not be controlled by the technology. So not being controlled by the technology means not believing everything that comes across the algorithm. So there's a lot of people out there that act like they're Christian, act like they believe in Jesus, but they believe in a weaponized Jesus. They believe in a Jesus like kills. I've actually heard a former guest of mine, Mr. Skousen, author of Strategic Relocation, who was a really nice man back in the day, who warned about Russia back in the day when Obama was the president, but then things changed when it was Trump, and then Russia ceased to be a threat in his eyes. And here we have him saying that, well, Jesus wasn't a nice guy. Jesus was an angry guy. What? Just from that little scripture there in the Bible about him flipping over the table. Then I have another guy, that's the guy that was stalking me for years. You know, he's got an image there of Jesus with a machine gun, an image on his community tab on his YouTube channel. Jesus with a machine gun. These people are so possessed. They think that Jesus would take a machine gun and rat-a-tat-tat, rat-a-tat-tat. Like literally, this is the demonic possession that is going on. It's in our bloodlines. There is a history that humans don't understand. And there are some people that see some humans that are born different genetically as literally some sort of like demon spawn. Literally, some person commented on my channel, maybe it's because I talked about my mixed race ancestry, talking about how he wondered whether I was Nephilim or not, an evil spirit or not. Something to that effect, right? The devil's biggest trick. We're wrapping up here. I got a lot more to say. Subscribe, share, comment, email me. I'll give you an email as more people start watching this channel. The devil's biggest trick. There's 3. And then we'll close. Devil's biggest trick was convincing us he didn't exist. Devil's biggest trick, second biggest trick, I just made all this up recently, was convincing people that godly people are demons and that demons are godly people. And then the third biggest trick of the devil, the Archon Shaitan, is convincing humans that they don't really have to be concerned with the hereafter. And there's a lot of fake Christians out there that say that people that are Gnostic, which I sometimes lean towards, but I'm not going to label myself one thing because I have that discernment. They'll say Gnostics are all Satanists, believe in Lucifer worship, and do as thou wilt. When in fact, they're the ones saying that they can do as thou wilt because Jesus died for their sins. When in fact, some say the Bible doesn't say that. In fact, there's a lot of things in the Bible about morality, and there's nothing in the Bible that supports white nationalism. And here we have these people saying that they're serving Jesus Christ, and yet they're pushing white nationalism, they're pushing genocide, they're not really serving the true genocide, the true Jesus. So if we're going to talk about why some people have turned to Satanism, the New Age movement, why they've turned away from true Christianity, the true Christ, it's the behavior of some people that claim to be followers of Christ. It's not the true Christ itself. Well, there is some spiritual things in the Bible, and there are some things that we can learn about demons and serving God. There are also some things that are corrupt, I believe, in the Bible and other holy books, right? Hear me out. When they put in that little province there about respecting authority, how can you respect these so-called authorities or world governments as becoming an Illuminati world government now? It already exists, that's involved in genocide. Okay. So even if we can't overthrow this draconian, tyrannical, genocidal system, right, we should still be working to bring it down. Because on a soul level, whatever great work we're really involved in this awakening process and teaching people about spiritual warfare, it's not necessarily work that's done over the course of one lifetime. Again, leave a comment, like the video, share the video with a hell of a lot of people, help the channel grow, and I will come back with more information. If you want to talk privately, leave a comment down below, and I'll reply with an email. God bless.